There is an explosive Wall Street Journal report by Annie Linsky and Siobhan Hughes, which argues essentially that President Joe Biden's brain is turning to mush. Yes, this is what the article says. Now, I know some of you are going to be angry with me for covering this at all. David, why? Why are you buying into what they are saying? The Wall Street Journal is part of News Corporation and blah, 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 blah. You shouldn't even be talking about it. You should be ignoring it. That has never been the way that I do this show. Annie Linsky is a serious enough reporter. She says she has 45 different sources on this story published in the Wall Street Journal. And whatever you think about the Wall Street Journal, it's not a tabloid, okay? It's owned by News Corporation. It certainly has a right-wing lean, but I would be doing the disservice by ignoring this story, okay? So if your plan is to email me and say, David, you shouldn't even be talking about this, we just disagree. This article that came out this morning, if true, is very problematic. It says, behind closed doors, Biden shows signs of slipping. It explains that when Biden met with congressional leaders in January to negotiate a Ukraine funding deal, he was speaking so softly at times that participants struggled to hear him, according to 5 people familiar with the meeting. He read from notes to make obvious points, paused for extended periods, and sometimes closed his eyes for so long that some in the room wondered if he had completely tuned out. In a February one-on-one in the Oval Office with MAGA Mike Johnson, Biden said a recent policy change by his administration that jeopardizes some big energy projects was just a study, according to 6 people told at the time about what Johnson said happened. Johnson worried the president's memory had slipped about his own policy. In other words, there was a policy change, which Biden supposedly didn't remember was a policy change and said, oh, that was just a study. Now, again, this is according to 6 people who heard it from Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson is a very biased character, but we're building. We've got 5 sources and now 6 more. Another anecdote. Last year, when Biden was negotiating with House Republicans to lift the debt ceiling, his demeanor and command of details seemed to shift from one day to the next, according to then Speaker Kevin McCarthy and 2 others. Some days he would have loose, spontaneous exchanges with Republicans. On other days, he would mumble and appear to rely on notes. McCarthy said, I used to meet with him when he was vice president. I'd go to his house. He's not the same person. The article continues in some detail here about these incidents. The White House commented by saying those accounts are not to be trusted. They are motivated only by partisan politics at the end of the day. I encourage you to read the entire article and to judge for yourselves Annie Linsky's reporting, as well as the sources on the anecdotes, which include the perceptions of voters and so many other things. They talk about that Ukraine meeting in January. They talk about a February 27th meeting with Biden and Johnson. They talk about a debt ceiling meeting in May 2023. It is an extremely extensive article here, and I am not going to hide this from you, okay? So on the one hand, it's Wall Street Journal, which is part of News Corporation. And indeed, some of the sources here are people who were given details of Biden's behavior that came from highly partisan actors up to and including MAGA Mike Johnson, the Republican Speaker of the House. On the other hand, I don't believe Annie Linsky would stake her reputation on 45 sources that don't exist or aren't trustworthy. And I think that her reputation is good enough and the article is well-sourced enough that it needs to be discussed. So we've been talking about what is the X factor? You know, the economy is pretty good. Biden's accomplishments are significant. Trump's now a convicted felon. He is up against even more criminal trials. He could theoretically end up in prison. There's no way that Trump will go from losing 2020 to taking states from Biden based on what's happened since 2020. He's just going to lose. But on the other hand, what about an X factor? One X factor has been if either candidate really fails cognitively in the debates, it could spell disaster. And so we don't really expect that to happen because it hasn't happened yet. But what if that were to happen in the debates? If this report were to be true and you have competing decline between Trump and Biden, it is certainly the sort of X factor that if it becomes a mainstream story, if it becomes visible in something like a debate, it could 180 everything and really upend this race. So read the article. I want to hear from you. As all of you know, my reporting on both Trump and Biden's cognition has stuck as closely to what we can see publicly and what mental health experts say about it. This report about Biden is admittedly about things happening behind closed doors. We have to consider that here. Trump's decline and what our mental health experts we've spoken to say is Biden's normal expected slowing down, signs of aging for someone his age. It's all happened publicly. We've been in the public sphere so far. There's behind the scenes stuff about Trump's incontinence. I don't talk about that on the show because it hasn't been well sourced in the way that this article says, hey, I'm a reputable reporter. I have 45 sources. We now have that with Biden. So let's all resist the urge to jump to conclusions and dismiss or assume every element is true. It could be the case that some of the stuff in the article, we say, okay, that I believe. The stuff that comes from MAGA Mike Johnson, maybe we are more skeptical of. But I think we only do ourselves a disservice if we pretend that this truly bombshell article, explosive at minimum in terms of its allegations, wasn't published. So let me know your thoughts. info@davidpakman.com. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/The David Pakman Show, where I will follow up on this story based on your thoughts and reactions. It is time to start thinking like voters and to make sure that kids understand the importance of voting, how it works, registering, ballot initiatives, because so many kids just have no idea. That's why I wrote the new children's book, Think Like a Voter. I can think of no better time and no more important group of folks to try to reach. The book is now available at davidpakman.com/book, where, by the way, you can get the first two books in the series as well. Think Like a Detective and Think Like a Scientist. Really important stuff. Donate them to local libraries, classrooms, read them with the kids. davidpakman.com/book.